On the morning of my brother's wedding, I woke up to a text from my mom that read, "Don't bother coming. We replaced you in the photos with someone who actually belongs." I thought it was a cruel joke. It wasn't. 2 hours later, I saw their smiling faces, with a stranger standing in my place. I stared at my phone for a full minute, my coffee growing cold in my hands. The message was short, cold, and final. No sorry. No explanation, just a sentence that sliced right through me. I scrolled up, thinking maybe there had been a fight I'd forgotten, some argument that would make this make sense. There wasn't. The last text from my mom before this was 3 days ago. "Don't forget to bring a white shirt." I called her. Straight to voicemail. I called my dad. Same thing. By the third attempt, my hands were shaking. This wasn't just any wedding. This was my younger brother's big day. I had been his best man. At least, I thought I was. I had helped him choose the venue. I'd even paid the deposit when he was short on cash. And now, I was being erased. I tried calling my brother. He picked up, but only for 3 seconds. "Hey," I started. "Don't make this harder," he said quickly, then hung up. I sat there in silence, my apartment suddenly feeling too small, too quiet. Then my phone buzzed again. A notification from Instagram. I opened it. It was a photo from the wedding rehearsal last night. I was in the shot originally, but now, I wasn't. They had cropped me out and reposted it, replacing me with some tall guy I didn't recognize. He had his arm around my mom like he'd been part of our family forever. The caption read, "Family. Can't wait for tomorrow." My chest felt like it was caving in. I typed a comment, something angry, something that would make them feel the sting, but I deleted it before hitting send. Instead, I grabbed my keys. If they thought they could just cut me out like a bad photo, they were wrong. The wedding was happening at a lakeside lodge about 40 minutes away. I drove the whole way with my thoughts bouncing between rage, hurt, and disbelief. Halfway there, my phone rang. It was my cousin Lyle. "You're not gonna like what's happening," he said immediately. "What do you mean?" "They told everyone you backed out. Said you didn't want to ruin the vibe. And they've got this guy, Nathan, standing in for you in the ceremony." "Nathan?" "Yeah. Apparently, he's your brother's new business partner. Met him, like, 2 months ago. Now he's family." I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. The thing is, my brother doesn't have a business. At least, not one I knew about. I pulled into the lodge parking lot and saw the white tents, the rows of folding chairs, the decorations I had helped pay for. And then I saw them, my mom, my dad, my brother, all laughing with this Nathan guy, who was wearing the exact suit I had picked for the groomsmen. They saw me. My mom froze. My dad's smile dropped. My brother just looked annoyed. "What are you doing here?" my mom asked, walking toward me like I was a stray dog that had wandered in. "What am I? This is my brother's wedding." I snapped. "Not anymore," she said flatly. "We've decided this is better for everyone. Better for everyone." Like I was a problem to solve. Like I hadn't spent months helping, supporting, paying for things they couldn't afford. I looked at my brother. "Seriously? You're okay with this?" He avoided my eyes. "Let's not make a scene." And that's when I realized they weren't embarrassed about what they'd done. They were embarrassed that I showed up. I didn't know it yet, but this was only the start. Because an hour later, the truth about Nathan, and why they replaced me, would come out in a way none of them could hide from. I stayed where I was, just a few feet from them, my pulse pounding so loud it drowned out the music coming from the reception tent. Nathan stepped forward like he owned the place. He was tall, maybe mid-30s, with perfect teeth and a tan that screamed expensive vacations. He extended a hand. "You must be... Oh wait, never mind." I didn't shake it. "You've got nerve wearing my suit," I said. He smirked. "It's not your suit anymore. Your brother said you bailed." I was just filling in the empty spot. Empty spot. My brother didn't even flinch at that. I was about to tell Nathan exactly what I thought of him when I noticed something. He was wearing a silver cufflink engraved with my grandfather's initials. Those cufflinks had been mine since Grandpa passed. I'd left them at my parents' house a month ago, so I wouldn't forget to bring them to the wedding. My voice went cold. "Where did you get those?" Nathan glanced down casually. "Your mom gave them to me this morning." "My mom?" I looked at her. She didn't look ashamed. She didn't even blink. "They suit him better," she said. Something in me snapped right then. Before I could fire back, a woman's voice called from behind us. "Nathan, we need you inside for the meeting." I turned to see a tall brunette in a navy pantsuit, holding a leather folder. She looked like she belonged in a corporate boardroom, not at a lakeside wedding. Nathan nodded at her, then looked at my brother. "We'll be ready in 10. Make sure everyone who needs to sign is in the lounge." "Sign? What's going on?" I asked. Nobody answered. That's when Lyle, my cousin, jogged over looking like he'd just run a mile. "You're not gonna believe this," he whispered. "They're selling Grandpa's cabin today, during the wedding." I stared at him. "The cabin? That's not even theirs to sell." It's split between all of us. Yeah, well, apparently they found a loophole. Something about you being unavailable to sign, so they brought in Nathan as a proxy. My head spun. Nathan wasn't just some random friend. He was here to take my place legally. They'd cut me out of my brother's wedding so they could push through a property sale behind my back. I marched toward the lodge, ignoring my mother's hiss, "Don't you dare ruin this day." Inside, the air smelled of polished wood and champagne. In a side lounge, I saw my father, my brother, Nathan, the woman in the pantsuit, and two men in suits I didn't recognize. A stack of papers sat on the table. My dad was flipping through them, nodding. "We can finalize it right after the ceremony. Nathan signs, money transfers, we're done." I stepped in. "The hell you are." The room went silent. The woman in the pantsuit looked at me like I'd just wandered in from the street. "I'm sorry, this is a private meeting." "This is my family's property," I said. "And you're not selling it without my consent." My dad's jaw tightened. "You lost your say when you abandoned the family." "Abandoned?" I laughed, bitter and sharp. "You mean when I moved out because you kept borrowing money and never paying it back?" "Yeah, I guess that was me abandoning you." Nathan leaned back in his chair, smirking. "Look, man, it's just business. You'll get your cut." "My cut? That cabin is worth 10 times what you're probably selling it for. Who's the buyer?" The woman closed the folder. "Confidential." And that's when it hit me. They weren't just selling it cheap. They were selling it to someone they knew. Maybe Nathan himself. I took out my phone and started recording. "You can't record this," my father barked. "Sure I can," I said. "We're in a public building, and this is a meeting about property I own." The woman looked nervous now. Nathan didn't. He looked amused. "Go ahead," he said. "Record all you want. By the time you figure out what's going on, it'll be too late." Then, as if to prove his point, he signed the first page of the contract in front of me. That's when something unexpected happened. Lal burst into the room, waving a piece of paper. "Stop everything. This changes the deal." Everyone turned to him. He handed me the paper. It was an email from Grandpa's lawyer. Apparently, there was a clause in the will nobody had bothered to read carefully. If any heir was absent or replaced by proxy during a family property sale, the entire estate would default to the next legal heir, bypassing the others completely. And according to the date on this email, that heir was me. The room froze. Nathan's smirk vanished. My father's face went pale. My brother muttered, "You've got to be kidding me." I folded the paper, slid it into my pocket, and smiled for the first time that day. Guess the wedding just got interesting. But if I thought they'd back down now, I was wrong. Because what they did next made this fight go from ugly to dangerous. The moment I tucked that email into my pocket, the energy in the room shifted. Nathan's jaw clenched. My dad's hands tightened into fists at his sides. My brother looked like he was about to be sick. "You think this changes anything?" Nathan finally said. "It doesn't. We'll fight it in court." "Sure," I said. "Go ahead. Just remember that everything you've done today is on video." I raised my phone slightly. His eyes flicked toward it. That's when my mom stormed in, still in her mother-of-the-groom dress, her face red. "What is going on in here?" "They're waiting for you, Evan." She was looking at my brother, not me. But when she saw my smirk, she froze. "What did you do?" "Oh, nothing," I said lightly. "Just saved Grandpa's cabin from being stolen by a guy I met 20 minutes ago." Her nostrils flared. "You've ruined this day." "No," I said, stepping closer. "I'm just making sure you don't ruin my life." The woman in the pantsuit started packing up the contract, muttering about postponements and reviewing clauses. Nathan stood there like a statue, his jaw ticking. My brother suddenly slammed his hands on the table. "Enough. This is my wedding day. Can we not do this right now?" "Then stop selling property you don't own." I shot back. His face darkened. "You were never supposed to be part of this family anyway." That one hit like a punch to the gut. Before I could respond, a wedding planner poked her head in. "They're ready for the ceremony. Guests are getting restless." Nathan straightened his tie. "Let's go get you married, man." The audacity made my blood boil. I followed them out to the ceremony site, staying just far enough behind to avoid a scene, for now. Rows of guests turned to look at us. I saw the flicker of confusion on some faces when they spotted me. Word must have started to spread. The officiant began speaking, but my mind wasn't on the vows. I kept scanning the crowd, thinking, if I walked away now, they'd twist the story. Make me the villain. I needed the truth out in the open. And then, the perfect opening fell right into my lap. Halfway through the vows, the officiant paused for the "if anyone has reason" part. I don't think anyone expected me to stand up. But I did. "Yeah, I've got a reason," I said loud enough for everyone to hear. A ripple went through the crowd. My mom's face turned to stone. My brother's fiancée, soon-to-be wife, looked confused. "This man," I pointed at Nathan, "isn't just some friend of the groom. He's here to help my family illegally sell off our grandfather's property during this wedding. They tried to replace me, literally, with him to make it happen. Gasps. Murmurs. Someone in the back actually said, "What?" Nathan raised his hands. "That's not." I pulled out my phone and played the recording from the lounge. Nathan's own voice filled the air. "By the time you figure out what's going on, it'll be too late." That shut him up. The bride's father stood up, his face red. "Is this true?" he demanded of my brother. My brother stammered. "It's complicated." The bride stepped back from him. "Complicated? You've been hiding this from me." The guests were whispering furiously now. A few were even filming. My mom hissed, "Sit down before you embarrass yourself further." I turned to her. "No. You've been embarrassing this family for years. Today, you just made it public." That's when Nathan made his move. He lunged toward me, grabbing for my phone. It happened so fast. Chairs scraping, guests shouting, someone yelling for security. Nathan's hand clamped on my wrist, trying to twist the phone away. But I wasn't letting go. Security rushed in, pulling us apart. The phone stayed in my grip. I looked down at it, still recording, and raised it toward the crowd. "Everything's on here. If they try to spin this, I'll post it everywhere." The bride turned to my brother, her voice shaking. "We're not getting married today. Not after this." Her words hit him harder than anything I could have said. His face crumpled. But my mom, she didn't look sad. She looked furious, not at the ruined wedding, but at me. She leaned in just before security escorted me out and whispered, "You'll regret this." I didn't know what she meant at the time, but the regret she had in mind would come before the day was over, and it would make the fight over the cabin look like child's play. The second I was escorted out of the ceremony area, the cool lake breeze hit me, but it didn't calm me down. My hands were still shaking from the confrontation. I should have felt victorious. I'd stopped the property sale, blown up their scheme in front of 100 witnesses. But my mom's whisper kept looping in my head. "You'll regret this." I didn't have to wait long to find out what she meant. I was halfway to my car when I heard hurried footsteps behind me. It was Lyle, looking spooked. "Don't go home," he said. "What? Why?" "They're saying you stole something from the lodge. Nathan's telling people he caught you trying to take wedding gifts." I stopped dead. "That's insane. I haven't touched anything." "I know, but they're already talking to the lodge manager about calling the cops." It was like a punch to the gut. They were going to try to get me arrested. I looked back toward the lodge. Guests were still milling around, some leaving early, some sticking around to gossip. My mom and Nathan were in the middle of a tight group, talking fast, pointing toward the parking lot, toward me. I had two choices: leave now and look guilty, or stay and fight it head on. I stayed. The lodge manager, a broad man in his 50s with a stiff posture, approached with two uniformed security guards. "Sir, we've had reports that you removed items from the reception area without permission." "That's a lie," I said flatly. "And I can prove it." "How?" I held up my phone. "I've been recording since I walked in today. Everything I've done is on video." Nathan stepped forward, voice dripping with mockery. "And I'm sure you edited it in real time too, right?" The manager looked uncertain. "Sir, I'm going to need to review the footage before we escalate." "Fine," I said, unlocking my phone. "Let's go inside and watch it together." Nathan's smile flickered. He clearly hadn't expected me to stand my ground. We went into a small office off the lobby. The manager sat at a desk while I scrolled through my videos. I showed him the footage from the moment I entered the lodge. No wedding gifts, no bags, nothing in my hands except my phone. Halfway through, the manager's expression changed from suspicion to irritation, but not at me. "Mr. Harlan," he said, turning to Nathan, "it seems your accusation doesn't hold up." Nathan tried to backpedal. "Maybe I was mistaken." "Mistaken?" I said sharply. "You tried to set me up. In front of witnesses." The manager's tone turned cold. "I'll thank you to keep these disputes out of my property. Now, both of you, get out of my office." I walked out first, my pulse still hammering. I thought maybe, just maybe, that would be the end of it. It wasn't. When I got in my car, the rear tire was flat. Not just low, shredded. A slash mark right through the sidewall. I didn't need a detective to guess who had done it. I was about to call roadside assistance when my phone buzzed. A notification from my bank. Withdrawal, $3,000. Location, ATM, Lakeview Lodge. I froze. My debit card was in my wallet, but my wallet was in my jacket pocket. And my jacket was hanging inside the lodge where I'd left it before the ceremony. I ran back inside, straight to the coat rack. My jacket was gone. Looking for this. I turned. My mom was standing there, holding my jacket, smiling faintly. "I didn't take your card," she said, almost sing-song. "But maybe don't leave your things lying around if you don't want problems." "You stole from me?" My voice was shaking with fury. "Don't be dramatic," she said. "Consider it a family tax." That was it. I grabbed my phone and started dialing the police. Her smile dropped. You really want to do this? You think they'll believe you over me? Over all of us? I didn't answer. I just walked outside and made the call. The dispatcher said an officer would be there in 20 minutes. I stayed by my car, pacing, replaying every insane thing that had happened today. Nathan came out of the lodge a few minutes later, walking fast toward the parking lot. Hope you like police reports, he called out. Because you're about to get one with your name on it. I didn't know if he was bluffing, but I didn't care. What I didn't realize was that the next 20 minutes would make this mess spiral completely out of control. Because when the cops showed up, someone had already planted evidence in my trunk. And this time, it was something that could actually put me in jail. The police cruiser's headlights cut through the fading afternoon sun. I felt my stomach knot. I hadn't felt this tense since high school when I'd nearly been expelled for something I didn't do. The first officer stepped out, a tall man with a tired face and eyes that suggested he'd seen everything, and then some. Sir, we received a report of suspicious activity involving you. I clenched my fists. I've done nothing illegal. They're trying to set me up. He raised an eyebrow. Suspicious activity how? Before I could explain, another cruiser pulled up. 2 more officers, and behind them, my mom, standing tall and composed, like she'd rehearsed this. Nathan was with her, arms folded. My dad lingered near the lodge entrance, looking like a man who just realized he'd lost control of everything. One of the younger officers approached the trunk of my car. We received reports of stolen items, sir, he said, lifting the latch. My heart froze. Inside the trunk, neatly packed in a black duffel bag, were stacks of cash I didn't recognize, a few expensive watches, and what looked like jewelry from the lodge. I froze. That's not mine. The officer looked skeptical. Care to explain how this ended up in your car? I opened my mouth, but my mom's voice stopped me. Oh, don't worry, officer. I'm sure he has a story. Her smile was sharp, almost cruel. I realized then that today wasn't just a wedding disaster. Today was a trap. I tried to call Lyle, but my phone was dead, cut off somehow. I cursed under my breath. The officers started taking notes. My mom and Nathan's story was convincing. They claimed I had grabbed valuables during the chaos inside the lodge and tried to flee. No, I shouted. I was outside the whole time. Someone planted this. One officer, older, more patient, looked at me. Sir, do you have any evidence? I shook my head. My phone had been dead for minutes, and I hadn't backed up my recordings. It felt like the world had shifted under me. My hands were trembling. I couldn't believe they'd escalate this far. Suddenly, a voice shouted from the parking lot. Stop. Wait. It was Lyle. He was running toward us, waving a set of papers. The younger officers tensed, unsure who he was. What's this? The tall officer demanded. Lyle held up the documents. This proves the sale Nathan and my parents tried to push through today, and also the planted evidence in the trunk. He handed them to me. I snatched them, scanning quickly. My grandfather's will, notarized amendments, and emails showing Nathan and my mom had discussed how to remove me from the ceremony and manipulate the property sale. The officers looked through the papers. Their expressions shifted from cautious skepticism to alarm. This changes everything, one muttered. My mom's face fell. For the first time today, she looked vulnerable, uncertain. Nathan tried to recover. This is fraud. These documents are fake. The older officer looked at him sharply. Do you have proof of that, sir? Nathan faltered. He didn't. I realized then that everything had turned in my favor, but the chaos wasn't over. My family had one last card, a secret clause buried deep in Grandpa's will. Lyle had found it. If activated, it would give them temporary control of the estate until the court verified the amendment. I swallowed hard. The next move they made could drag me into court for months. Or worse, cost me the cabin entirely. My dad stepped forward, hands raised, trying to negotiate. Evan, let's handle this quietly. No need for a scandal. I laughed bitterly. A scandal? You brought it into the open. I'm not stepping back now. Not after everything today. Suddenly, my phone buzzed, the battery miraculously alive for a brief moment. I glanced down. A text from the bride. Evan, you need to know. Nathan isn't who he says he is. The money in your trunk? It's tied to something illegal. He's using you as a scapegoat. My blood ran cold. She continued. Check the papers Lyle found. There's a clause about proxy signers. Nathan's signature could implicate you in financial crimes he's committed. You have to act fast before they accuse you. Everything clicked. Nathan hadn't just tried to replace me at the wedding or manipulate the property. He was planning to pin criminal activity on me while pretending to be a friend of the family. I turned to Lyle. We need to move. Now. He nodded. I've got a plan, but it's risky. I looked back at my family. My mother's glare was deadly. My father's hands were shaking. Nathan's smirk was gone, replaced with something almost human, fear. We had one chance to expose the whole scheme before the cops, the public, and the court turned against me. One mistake, and I'd end up in jail instead of owning my grandfather's cabin. And that's when the real game began. A dangerous, high-stakes battle for truth, justice, and revenge, unfolding right in the middle of what was supposed to be the happiest day of my brother's life. I realized something terrifying. If I failed, nothing would ever be the same. Not my family, not my life, not even the name I'd carry. The wedding, the cabin, the betrayal, it all collided into a single, unbearable moment. I looked at Nathan. He looked at me. And in that instant, I knew. Only one of us would walk out with control. We ducked behind a row of parked cars, the sun sinking low, casting long shadows over the chaos of the wedding aftermath. Lyle handed me the notarized amendments and emails. This is everything we need. Nathan's signature is fraudulent. Mom and Dad can't deny it. I swallowed hard, heart hammering. Every step we took back to the lodge felt like walking into a lion's den. Inside, the scene was eerily calm. Guests were leaving, murmuring, some still filming snippets of the drama. Nathan was at the center, talking fast to the woman in the pantsuit, but now I saw the cracks in his composure. I stepped forward. Everyone stop. My voice cut through the chatter like a knife. All eyes turned to me. My mom's lips pressed into a thin line. My dad's face was pale. My brother looked like he might collapse. I held up the documents. Everything Nathan signed today is fraudulent. Every action taken to replace me, manipulate the property, or set me up with the cash in my trunk. It's all on paper, and it's all illegal. The crowd gasped. Some pulled out phones. Some whispered. Nathan tried to regain control. That's not. I didn't let him finish. You tried to use me as a scapegoat for fraud. You tried to replace me in my own family, and you thought you could get away with it. He stumbled backward, eyes darting. The woman in the pantsuit froze. My parents exchanged a glance, the first real panic I'd seen in them all day. I took a deep breath. I've recorded everything, and I have the legal proof. The cops are already on their way. You will not walk away from this. Then something incredible happened. My brother, who had been standing frozen, finally spoke. Mom, Dad, Nathan, what the hell were you thinking? The room went silent. My mother opened her mouth, then closed it. My father's shoulders slumped. Nathan's smirk disappeared completely. And then, in an instant, the most unexpected thing occurred. The bride, still standing, composed despite the chaos, stepped forward and handed me an envelope. Inside was a video. Hidden camera footage from earlier in the day. Nathan had been meeting with an unknown man in the parking lot, counting cash and handing over documents. The man looked shady, dangerous. It confirmed everything. Nathan's plan wasn't just greedy, it was criminal. The officers arrived moments later, and I handed them both the documents and the footage. They exchanged quick glances, then looked at Nathan. You're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and theft. Nathan went pale. The room erupted in whispers. My parents couldn't meet my eyes. I felt a rush of relief and triumph, but it was mixed with something else. Sadness. Disappointment. The family I thought I had didn't exist today. The officers escorted Nathan out. My parents tried to apologize, but I turned away. I didn't want empty words. I wanted truth, accountability, and my life back. Later, Lyle and I sat by the lake, watching the wedding remnants float in the water, chairs, ribbons, even some leftover champagne flutes. Looks like we survived today, he said, shaking his head. I laughed, bitter and exhausted. Survived? I feel like we've just started the real war. He smiled. Well, at least you still have the cabin. That's something. I looked at the water, reflecting the last light of day. I realized then that even when family betrays you, even when the people closest to you try to erase your existence, you can still fight back. You can still take control. The lesson was clear. Trust yourself, rely on the allies you choose, and never let anyone make you feel invisible. But as we walked away from the lodge, a thought lingered in my mind, gnawing at me. If they were willing to go this far today, what else might they try tomorrow? And that's when I turned to Lyle and whispered, almost to myself, almost to the universe. If you were me, and the people who are supposed to love you tried to ruin your life in front of everyone, would you forgive them, or fight back again? Because sometimes the hardest decision isn't about winning or losing. It's about choosing whether to break the cycle, or step into it one more time. That's the end of today's story. Did things turn out the way you thought, or were there some surprises along the way? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you haven't joined the community yet, now's the perfect time. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you're always the first to catch new stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.